Goldy busts out of his slump, and Wainwright escapes the devil's lair on today's episode of Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow me on Twitter at JD Sports Radio and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked on Cardinals your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment so you can interact with us. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Before we get started today, I don't know if you guys are picking this up at all, but they are working on the carpets in my building. And so if you hear a humming in the background, that is what that is. That is them shampooing rugs and doing stuff like that. So apologies if that distracts anybody. So let's move on. Let's talk about what happened. After Monday's disappointing loss, the Cardinals were back on the diamond on Tuesday night in a place that Adam Wainwright does not enjoy pitching at. And for good reason. He's had a horrible, horrible track record at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, which was well chronicled in yesterday's episode. So if you want to see and hear how bad it's been, be sure to check yesterday's episode out real quick. Just know that he's coming into the game on Tuesday night. He had one win at Great American Ballpark since 2014 with an ERA over 5. Okay, so very non-Waino numbers for a guy whose career ERA is under 3.5. And it's been so bad that the Cardinals right-hander has dubbed Great American Ballpark the Devil's Lair. That's what he calls it. So on Tuesday night, he was hoping to, exercise the Great American Ballpark demons, if you will. And he kind of did. We don't know if this will be the last time Waino takes the mound in Cincinnati, but if it is, at least he went out with the W. Waino throws 5 2/3 innings. He allows 5 runs on 8 hits, one of them a home run, and only gets 2 strikeouts while walking 1. Not exactly a line from the heavens for a starting pitcher, but it was enough to get the win as the rest of the Cardinals bullpen was able to blank the Reds over the final 3 1/3 innings. Tip of the cap to Chris Stratton. Damn glad to meet you, who finished off the 6th inning for Waino, who had runners on first and second and 2 outs when he unwillingly exited the ball game. Stratton strikes out Kevin Newman to squash the rally at a huge time in the game where things were starting to tilt into the Reds' favor. So great job there by Chris Stratton coming in to knock that out. Gallegos, clean inning in the 8th inning, but things did get a little hairy in the 9th when Ryan Helsley came on, a move that, to be honest, shocked me that Ryan Helsley came into this game back-to-back nights. He had just thrown 23 pitches the previous night and took the loss in extra innings. On Tuesday, Helsley had to throw 27 more pitches, and this is after he breezed through the first 2 hitters. Didn't really have a problem with them, but then it was a single, and then back-to-back walks. Bases are now loaded before getting Jonathan India to ground into that fielder's choice at second base to win the game. I was very nervous. When I saw Helsley come out, I was like, oh boy. And I was I was shocked. And again, Ali Marmol, not in the game at this point. He had already been ejected from this one. So it was Joe McEwing who was making the calls there. But in the end, it worked out. But obviously, you probably won't see Helsley tonight. Probably not tomorrow either. Nice little nugget from this game is the Cardinals have now improved to 6-0 with a 4.16 ERA in the 6 games that Wilson Contreras has caught since being reinstated as the primary catcher on May 15th. They're undefeated now with him behind the plate since then. And I'm not saying that as a knock on Kisner. I'm saying it more as a, hey, good for you, Willie. Like a pat on the back there to him and to the staff for fixing whatever communication problems or whatever was going on. It seems that they've kind of mended that fence, and that seems to be going just fine now. But whatever the problem was, before all of that went down, where now it seems like they all trust him and we're okay. The win was only the second for Wainwright in Cincinnati in his last 11 starts there, dating back to the start of the 2016 season. The other one came in 2019 in a game when the Cardinals scored 13 runs so that Adam could get the win. In those 11 starts, Wainwright has allowed a combined 50 earned runs in 52 and a third innings, and his post-game interview with Bally's was pretty darn amusing. I have to admit, I tweeted it out last night. The whole thing is available there, but just to give you a little excerpt, and because of copyright and stuff, I'm not allowed to play the interview for you, or I would, but I'll read it to you as he partially joked about how tough it's been for him pitching in Cincinnati. Quote, "I'm finding ways to give up runs right now. 2 outs, nobody on, blue pit, double. I did that a couple times tonight. All the bloops were followed by extra base hits, and that's because this place is from the devil. And I will dust my sandals off and move on from this place, but we did win the game." And that, he's saying it and he's smiling while he's saying stuff like that. I even leaned over to my mom, who was at the game with me last night when India's bloop single fell into right field in between first and right field in the first inning. I even turned to her and I go, now watch. That's going to come around and score, because that's what happens to Wainwright and the Cardinals in this ballpark. And lo and behold, it did. And for some reason, balls like that just tend to fall. The balls that normally are caught end up finding holes. Weak fly balls like that just reach the first row of the stands against them in Cincinnati. Like, they'll end up being like lazy fly balls. All of a sudden, they're a home run there. It's weird. It's really, really weird how things can change a Great American Ballpark, and it seems to happen to the Cardinals a lot. And I've watched a lot of games at Great American Ballpark, and I've seen them play other teams. And it's weird how it happens to the Cardinals more than anybody else. It's infuriating to watch it happen over and over and over again. So I fully understand Wainwright's frustrations. Now, when asked if this was his last start at Great American Ballpark, Wainwright responded, "One can only hope," which got a big laugh from the reporters around him. At least he kept the humor up and was lighthearted about it all, because it has not been a lot of fun for him to pitch at that ballpark. So maybe this was the last time we see him there. He's had a tough time in the past, and I'm just glad Adam was able to have some fun and walk away with a W, and maybe his last time on the mound there. So following the win, the Cardinals, going back and looking at things, it appears that maybe they've got their NL MVP swinging the bat well again. So we're going to have more on Goldy's big night and the ridiculous ejection of Nolan Arenado coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, but the actual total is closer to $200. So if you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, you need to start using RocketMoney, because RocketMoney is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. And it's going to monitor your spending, helps you lower your bills all in one place. It's like that guardian angel when it comes to your money and your bank account, just to make sure you're staying on track with what you should be spending your money on, instead of forgetting about all the stuff you are losing valuable funds to each and every month. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they've completely forgot about, and chances are you're one of them. So, like the Stars app, just to watch one show, or whatever it is, HBO Max, or whatever one you're subscribed to, or the free gaming trial that you forgot to actually cancel. RocketMoney will quickly and easily find those subscriptions for you, and any of them that you don't want to pay for anymore, you just hit the cancel button, and RocketMoney will cancel it for you. It's that easy. Over 3 million people have used RocketMoney, saving the average person up to $720 a year. That's a lot of money. You can use that on, going to the ballpark to see the Cardinals instead. So save your money. Stop throwing it away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions. Manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. The Cardinals are on the road to face the Reds once again tonight. You can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We do have a day game tomorrow, so tomorrow's show will not come out until after the game is over. So that'll happen tomorrow night, so we can recap kind of the whole series and move on to their weekend ahead of them. So we'll do that tomorrow. But again, after the game, which is an early afternoon one. All right, back to last night's game. And there were two things that took place on the offensive side of the game for the Redbirds that I want to focus on here. One, we saw Paul Goldschmidt's bat wake up from its little mini slumber that it's been on. And two, the ejection of Nolan Arenado and manager Ali Marmol. So let's start with the reigning NL MVP, Mr. Paul Goldschmidt, whose struggles recently we've discussed on this show in the first two episodes of this week. No player is immune to slumps in a season, right? So some have longer ones than others, but it happens to every single player in the league at some point or another. On May 7th, the Cardinals had lost 8 in a row. We're the most confusing team in baseball because nobody could figure out why they were losing so much. They were the talk of the league, but for all the wrong reasons. And on that day, Paul Goldschmidt single-handedly said, enough is enough. He goes 4 for 5, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs against the Detroit Tigers at Busch Stadium to snap the losing streak. But since that day, he hasn't been all that great. The Cardinals have been one of the better teams in baseball, winning 12 of their next 16 games. On that day, Paul Goldschmidt's batting average was at 321, 7 home runs, 20 RBIs were his numbers. Since that day, the team has taken off as a whole, but Goldy has slid into a slump. Over the span of the next 14 games, he's had no home runs, just 3 RBIs, and his average dipped down to 288. Now, it's not like Goldy hasn't been productive in other ways. It's not like he hasn't been helping this team offensively. He's been getting pitched around a lot, walking 14 times in that span. At the same time, he has still contributed 10 hits. He scored 12 times. And for a normal player, that's fantastic. But for a player like Paul Goldschmidt, that's a slump, you know? And that's just how good he is. So last night, he got the offense going with a solo blast in the first inning. And it was his 8th of the year. Very nice to see him get going right away. And then I kid you not, I'm in the stands with my wife on my left, my mom on the right. And the top of the third is getting ready to start. My mom says to me, I think Goldie's going to hit another one. And I said, okay. I opened up the dial-a-homer hamburger phone that we had with us. We've had it in both games so far. And said, punch it in. And I recorded her doing it, which you can see on our Twitter page. And then I pushed send on Twitter. Pushed it out there. At that very moment, as I'm screwing around with my phone, trying to get this tweet out there, that's when Newbar, who was leading off the third inning, grounds back to Ashcraft for the first out. I didn't even see the play. I just saw him throw him out at first place because I was too busy trying to get this thing out there because I wanted to get the dinger dialed up before Goldie came up because she felt really strong about it. I was like, all right, well, let's do that. 5 pitches later, Paul Goldschmidt smacks his 9th home run of the season, an opposite field shot. And you would have thought we'd won the lottery or something, just the way we both jumped up. We're like, yeah! And unfortunately, last night, we were on the first base side. And over there, 95% Reds fans. There was not a lot of Cardinal fans on our side. They all sit on the Cardinals side, on the third base side behind the dugout. So none of them really shared in our enthusiasm of what had just happened. Most of them are looking at us like, why do they have a hamburger phone? My mom literally called the Goldie shot on a hamburger phone in the stands moments before it happened. It was good times. I couldn't believe it. Because I even said to her, I was like, you know, he already hit one, though. So why would you pick him again? She did it. Goldie almost hit a third one later in the game when he lined out to the wall in right center. That one he hit 389 feet away. It was an out. That fly out or line out, because it was a missile, was actually longer than his 2 home runs. They went 384 and 358 respectively, and that's just baseball. Goldschmidt now has 19 career home runs in 54 games at Great American Ballpark. That's the 3rd most among active players, trailing the Yankees' Anthony Rizzo, who just hit 2 home runs there over the weekend, and the Pirates' Andrew McCutcheon. Now, the 2 long balls also increased the team's total in the month of May to 38. That's the most they have hit in the month since hitting 42 in May of 2012. They have 7 games left in this month, and the franchise record for home runs in the month of May is 45, set back in 2000. So they got a good chance at breaking that record. Obviously, getting Goldie rolling again. That's huge for this lineup. I would love to see, someday, can we get Goldy and Arenado on the same page at the same time? That's what I'm waiting for. I would love to see those two just destroy the opposition for a couple of weeks together. But speaking of Arenado, in that same third inning that Goldy hit his hit dinger number 2, he got ejected. Nolan Arenado gets ejected along with manager Ali Marmol. I want to give you my thoughts on this ejection, and we'll do a quick preview of what's going to go on in tonight's game on Locked On Cardinals. Now we're inching towards summer, which means more outdoor activities like golf, barbecues, swim parties, Little League and professional baseball games, trips to the amusement park. You're going to go to Six Flags this year? Probably. There's a lot of things that are going to go on. And you want a pair of shorts or pants, depending on what you want, that gives you the fit, the comfort, and the versatility to handle all of these activities. And that's why you need to try Birddogs. I played 18 holes the other day in my new Birddogs. Worma white ones out there on the course. It was a charity outing. So I wanted to look presentable. Going to be taking a lot of pictures with people to, a lot of people out there, a lot of people I want to impress, make sure I'm making good connections. But at the same time, when you're out there playing 18 holes, you got to be comfortable too, because you're coming in and out of the golf court. You're moving around. If you're like me and you're not on the fairway all the time, you're going off into the woods sometimes. My Birddogs are perfect for occasions just like that. I'll be wearing them to the game tonight. My favorite thing about them is the stretchy fabric that is flexible with whatever I'm doing. They don't, when you sit down, they don't bunch up, look all odd and weird when I sit down like other shorts can. I'm never pulling on them or tugging on them, trying to make them fit right. They always do. I can sit back, relax, enjoy the game in style and comfort. You should try them for yourself today by going to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you enter promo code LockedOnMLB, they're going to hook you up with a free gift. They're going to throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every single order. Once again, birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Try them out. The Cardinals will send Steven Matz to the mound tonight against the Reds, and you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Now, before we get into the preview of tonight's game, let's talk about the ejections that happened last night. And I know the rule that you're not allowed to argue balls and strikes. I know this. I get it. I know why the rule is in place. But personally, I find it a bit silly that the ump can just toss a guy for saying anything about his decision-making when it comes to balls and strikes. Some umps are more lenient than others. I know that. They'll let you bark a little bit, and if a player is getting in the ump's face or you're showing up the umpire a bunch, I understand why you toss him, okay? Players have to learn to control their emotions as well, okay? You can't get into a guy's face, point, and make him look foolish. Like, that's just not cool. But last night, Nolan Arenado had some issues with a few calls against him in his first 2 at-bats. Apparently also was upset still about a check swing call for Monday's game. And after grounding into a double play to end the top half of the third inning for the Cardinals, he was going back across the diamond and was clearly chirping at the home plate umpire. Well, he not in an expressive, vulgar way by any means. But still, you could tell he was saying stuff about the ump or what about the ump's calls. And you could see umpire Will Little, who was the home plate umpire last night, saying something back to Nolan as he walks across the field. He was over by the pitcher's mound. He's walking across there. And first off, I hate it when umps do that. I hate it when they do that because it makes it seem like they're baiting the players into getting ejected. Now, maybe Little was telling him, hey, that's enough. If you keep it up, you're gone. That's a possibility. But if umps want the players to just shut their traps, then don't acknowledge them. Literally, don't acknowledge the player, and they'll just keep strolling along. It'll be over. By saying something to the player, you're encouraging them to continue the argument or discussion further. You want the player to be quiet? Just turn your back and don't say anything to them. And they'll vanish. They'll go away. Now, in this instance, Nolan, he's clearly saying something. I'm not giving him a free pass here. Clearly saying something, but he's not looking at the ump. He isn't pointing fingers at the ump. Nothing expressive. He's literally just taking his gloves off, walking next to first base coach Stubby Clapp towards the dugout to go get his glove because he was the third out of the inning. So he's going over there to get his glove from whoever's bringing it out for him, and he's going to go take his position. But Will Little tosses him. One of the greatest players in the game right now, a guy that many of the fans, myself included, in that stadium, paid to come watch, gets tossed out in the third inning for talking out loud. Now, at this point is when Arenado rushes towards the ump to ask him why he got ejected. He's clearly pointing like, I'm over here walking away. Like, why would you throw me out? Like implying that he really wasn't doing much to earn his removal from the game. And that's when Ollie comes sprinting over and he charges in. He gets tossed almost immediately by Little as well. Ollie went on to get his money's worth, which I enjoyed after the fact by pointing out his displeasure with the home plate umpire zone there. He was showing him like, this is where you're calling him up here. And he was all upset. And I love it when, if you're going to get thrown out, might as well get your screaming in, right? Here's kind of on YouTube, you can see a picture of what it looked like. Like he was right up in his grill. Like that is right up in his grill. And the thing is, last night, Will Little actually did a very good job behind home plate, calling balls and strikes. He had a 96% accuracy rating last night. But the one call that Arenado was upset about and had an issue with, he did miss. He missed it, calling a ball up above the strike zone a strike when it was a ball. And he only missed 6 out of 156 pitches last night. I mean, you will take that every single game from an umpire. That's a very good job. It's not the strike zone that I have a problem with. It's the quick trigger on throwing these guys out. Now, after the game, Ollie said, quote, Arenado and the ump exchanged words and that he didn't think it should have been an ejection. That's what I was more mad about, but we move on. Good win. He got ejected. My guy goes, I'm going to go with him. And I dig that. I dig that Ollie is there to protect the players. And it's unfortunate that he couldn't get there in time in between them before Arenado got tossed. But again, what Nolan was doing didn't seem like it warranted an ejection or looked as if it was going to escalate that quickly to where Arenado was going to get thrown out, or I'm sure Ollie would have been out there already. I mean, Stubby Clapp wasn't even trying to pull Arenado away. They were casually walking across the diamond. That's my problem with that ejection. I don't think it was warranted. I think it was a quick trigger. And I hate it when the umps make the game more about them than what the actual game is. Like, it drives me nuts. Tonight's game has the winless Steven Matz on the hill. 0-5 so far. He's going to take on veteran Ben Lively, who's 1-2 on the year, but has only made one start. That was actually against the Yankees this past weekend, and he threw pretty well against New York. 5 2/3 innings, 2 runs on 2 hits. One of those was a home run by Aaron Judge, but he punched out 8, so he was pretty good. Lively has never faced the Cardinals, so the Cardinals have no book on him, really, which usually spells a problem for St. Louis, but hopefully they get some tape of what happened against New York, and because he's pitched another play. He's 31 years old. It's not like this guy's never pitched before, but not a whole lot of starts to go back and look at. In his career against Cincinnati, Matz has been very good. 4-0, ERA of 2.92. At GABP, he's 2-0 with a 3.38 ERA in 3 starts. He was pitching very well there last year, and then he hurt his knee. And I was at that game, and that sucked. So hopefully things go well again tonight. No injuries. He pitches the way he did last time because he was well on his way to a victory when he got hurt. So it'd be nice to see, Matz get off the schneid tonight because he has pitched better recently and get that first win of the year. Be sure to catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast against the Reds tonight in Cincinnati with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. First pitch will be at 5:40 St. Louis time. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Help the channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.